The Arizona Wildcats, no. The unanimous number 1 overall Arizona Wildcats take the court tonight and face off against a familiar foe.
Wildcats pregame show live from Studio K, presented by our friends over at Circle K. The Arizona Wildcats, number 1 team in the land, take on the Cincinnati Bearcats. And will Bearcats go down in this one? We will find out in just 30 minutes here as we await tip-off. I'm Damon Fairall. He's Kevin Thomas. As I said, this is the AZ Wildcats pregame show. We are live from PHNX HQ3. And I guess we're presented by our presenting sponsors of Branded Bills. Head on over to brandedbills.com. Use promo code BBPHNX and get 15% off your first order. And I'm not even sure we got to do that, Kevin, but we just love Branded Bills
for the love of the game.
Much.
For the love of the game.
We're just telling people, hey, this is just go out and get the premium headwear and apparel in the game, especially if you're a Wildcats fan, especially if you have a small business you want to promote like I'm repping right here. But Kevin, how we doing today, my man? Obviously, you know, I've been in, not to throw you under the bus here. I've been in the studio a little bit longer than you have today. I clocked in early. I think you clocked in a little bit late. But are you hyped up properly for this Arizona Wildcats game? Because I think I need you to bring the energy tonight.
I just needed a little bit of extra rest today, Damon. It's a little bit of a later tip. I was kind of taking it as if we were on Central Time. You know what I mean? This is a late tip. I needed some rest. But yeah, no, I feel good. We are back. The Arizona Wildcats are back. And it should be a very good night of hoop. You got Cincinnati coming to town. You got Kirk Kriisa potentially playing in this one, Damon. So, yeah, no, there's a lot to break down. Before we get into the Arizona and Cincinnati of it all, because we do have about half an hour before that game tips off, did you see the new player from the NBA that is making their trip down to Alabama?
I did not.
There is a new player coming to town.
Oh, I did actually. Yeah, I'm sorry. That question was, I don't know why it didn't compute properly. Yeah, that's an odd one, especially when you consider that Nate Oates specifically made a comment earlier this year about James Najee and Baylor. No.
Yeah, no, he did, and he's a former Alabama standout. I think they had the 3rd best defense in the country when he was on their team. He's a paint protecting shot blocker to my knowledge. Charles Bediako. And yeah, I just wanted to mention at the top of the show that our sport is slowly dying. So we need to enjoy these nights while we're number 1 in the country and we have a home game to watch, because we're letting just anybody play the game these days. But
the Cats play ethical hoops,
yes.
Kevin. We don't need professional players. We don't need, your NBA guys to come and win basketball games, because guess what? We got the guys in the building right now who are ready to win games and haven't lost a game yet, knock on wood. Hopefully that doesn't happen, tonight here. But yeah, I mean, I ethical hoops going on in Tucson. None of your, crap, fake semi-pro NCAA like the rest of the conference seemingly has going on.
100%. We do have 2 legitimate Big 12 teams to talk about tonight, not 2 teams trying to, superficially add G League, like you said, semi-pro nonsense to their roster. Arizona versus Cincinnati tonight. And as we look at this matchup, we already reviewed this on our live show, but we can go over it really quick here. If you're not too familiar with Cincinnati, this is what they do well. They are one of the best defensive teams in the country, 7th overall in defensive efficiency. They have pretty good balance as well, albeit they don't score too much, but the points they do score are pretty spread out, and they do very well at forcing turnovers, obviously that defensive efficiency, but they capitalize off of them by points at the other end as well. And then what do they not do so well? Offensive consistency and offensive efficiency. Offense is not this year Cincinnati's game. which extends to their shooting efficiency from deep. Their three-point efficiency is non-existent, and their points to the paint, not very strong as well. And so if we look at this matchup, right, it feels like a team that we've kind of been talking down on all year in Cincinnati, who's kind of been surprising some folks with their recent level of play, right? Losing to Houston by just 7, completely upsetting Iowa State when they were, number 2 and just had only lost but one time to Kansas of all teams. And then Cincinnati's able to get that upset at home. When you look at this Cincinnati team, Damon, what do you see from the Arizona side of things?
I see a team that is about as good as its strengths as you can possibly get in the country and about as bad as its weaknesses as you can possibly get. Like, this team is very clearly built on defense and, just a general defensive philosophy that does well for them, but it doesn't necessarily translate to the other side of the floor when it comes to their offensive game. So when we look at these offensive and defensive charts, I think the thing that sticks out to me the most is I don't know if we'll find another team in the country all year long when we do these strengths and weaknesses that is stronger in their strengths and weaker in their weaknesses than Cincinnati is. They are complete polar opposites on that side of the spectrum, and it makes for an interesting battle, right? Because you get to find out what your team can do against a team that is truly elite defensively. I mean, they're top 10 in defensive efficiency in the country, according to KenPom, but is not able to really supplement that with firepower on the other side of the basketball. So I expect Arizona to be able to win this one tonight, fairly easily, because I just think that there's too much firepower on Arizona's side where I don't see a world where Cincinnati can kind of match that. But it's going to be a fun matchup to kind of just see what Arizona can do against a truly elite defense, because I would say it's at least one of the first truly elite defenses that this team has played all year long. Maybe UConn. But I'm trying to think of a team that is kind of in the top 10 of defensive efficiency here, and yeah, I think Cincinnati provides a real test for Arizona.
I also think Cincinnati could provide a genuine test to Arizona the same way that TCU and UCF provided a genuine test to Arizona. And like you said, it's based on that defensive aspect, but taking it one step further, it's the length that they have on defense, right? We're talking about a team that I know Arizona is a top 10 team in height. I believe they are 7th in the country in height, but Cincinnati, when we're talking about that height ranking from KenPom, a lot of the times the difference between like being top 20 and being top 10 is like 0.2 of an inch, right? And when you're talking about Cincinnati, I feel like they have a lot of rotational length. Mustafa Thiam is 7'2", right? Baba Miller is 6'11". Jalen Celestine is 6'7", right? So I feel like this Cincinnati team can actually contend with some of Arizona's length. I won't say they can contend with Arizona's size, because I think, we're talking about Matthias Krivas versus Mustafa Thiam. I think Krivas wins the strength battle there. We're talking about Koa Peat versus Baba Miller. I think Koa Peat, wins the strength battle there. Or if you want to switch, that matchup to be Tobe Awaka, whatever you want to try to equal this out as, I think that this is actually a really interesting matchup from a size perspective, at least in the front court. Now in the back court, Arizona should be able to bottle up DayDay Thomas, bottle up Jizzle James, bottle up Sincere Harris. But I do think the front court matchup is a lot more interesting than maybe meets the eye. Damon, before we get too deep into the preview of this game, I think we'd be remiss to not mention one health update, and we do have the availability report for this game, and would you look at that? It seems like the one, the only Kerr Kriisa is probable for tonight after going down in the Houston game with a shoulder injury. Has not played a game since, but he seems to be returning to the court tonight. And I believe that now is a good time to get into our shots fired, presented by our friends over at Three Amigos Tequila. There is no better tequila in the game. I'm just going to be honest. It's Three Amigos. It's my favorite. If you really want to know, it's the Ramona's Reserve is my favorite, but we're about to get into that here in a second. Shots fired, Three Amigos Tequila. You guys know the drill. Damon, do you want to start us off?
I'm gonna let you decide that, Kevin, because I don't really know where you're going here. You're the wild card in this situation. I'm locked and loaded. I'm ready to go whenever you call my number, Coach.
I love that. I will kick us off here because I'm gonna go off the beaten path a little bit here, Damon, because I don't really have too much against Cincinnati Athletics. Me personally, I don't have too much against them, and we're talking about different aspects of this game, and I just don't have too much hate in my heart towards any individual Bearcat, but I do towards Mick Cronin. So this is going to go a little bit off beaten path. Somebody in the chat,
I love it.
Somebody in the chat said earlier.
I didn't see that coming, but I love it.
Philip Sullivan wanted me to talk about Mick Cronin a little bit, and I'm happy to do that because Mick Cronin loses, and you and I were post-show talking about that the other night, blames his players, goes, hey, accountability, it's all on me for bringing in these bumps. Right?
That's exactly what he said.
And then,
which is just wild behavior.
Insane.
You know what, guys? This podcast sucked today. And I got to do a better job making sure that Kevin's ready to go every single day. And that's on me because he blew it all day today. And that's the reason that this podcast sucks. But that's on me. I chose my co-host. That's the guy I signed up for as my co-host. So I knew what I was getting into when I took this job.
That's the Mick Cronin logic. And then you're thinking, well, they go on the road to Purdue, and they get the upset, Damon. They get the upset. UCLA upsets Purdue in Big Ten play, and you're thinking, oh, my goodness, that's the response that this hard-nosed, tough basketball coach Mick Cronin has been asking for from his team. Surely he has some good things to say about his team off the rip in the post-game presser. And what does he do, Damon? I don't know if you saw this, but what does he do? He takes his first opportunity to speak and goes, let me tell you what, this Big Ten schedule is god-awful. They got us traveling from here to there and all. You upset Purdue, brother, on the road, and you're complaining yet still. It's unbelievable. I just don't think there's any joy in Mick Cronin's life, and that's my shots fired. For Mick Cronin to try this great Ramona's Reserve and then maybe have some joy in his life, because it does not seem like Mick Cronin is made happy by just about anything.
Former Bearcat legend, Mick Cronin, by the way.
You know what? Well, you know what? This kind of worked out.
No, I didn't realize that you weren't even making that connection.
I didn't even connect it. I think subconsciously I knew,
Cincinnati coach Mick Cronin. I mean, he is a Cincinnati man. He left Cincinnati to come be the head coach at UCLA. Like, he probably wasn't leaving Cincinnati unless it was a program that was, pretty big time. And, UCLA, as much as we like to make fun of them, is a big time basketball program. Cincinnati is, Mick Cronin is a Cincinnati guy through and through. He looks like Cincinnati. He feels like Cincinnati. He talks like Cincinnati. I was, Kevin, watching some college basketball yesterday, just along these lines. And
salud, by the way.
Oh yeah. Take that shot. Fire that shot off, Kevin, with our friends at Three Amigos Tequila, that Ramona's Reserve. So smooth, so spiced, so sweet. Just the best.
Yeah.
But I was watching a college basketball pregame show yesterday. I almost called you in the moment. I couldn't believe my ears.
Okay.
They wanted to bring up, it was prior to the UCLA Purdue game. They were talking a little bit of Mick Cronin, talking about what he said in regards to his players after their last outing and how he threw them directly under the bus. And you wouldn't, you could guess it. You could make it up. But the pregame panel, they show his comments, and what's the first thing that gets said? I'm from Ohio. It's a similar part of Ohio where Mick Cronin's from. This is just kind of the way we are. He's a straight shooter. He's going to give it to you how he sees it. He's going to say what's on his mind. And Mick Cronin's not the guy who's going to mince words. So he gets up there, he says what he's feeling, he lets it fly, and that's just kind of who Mick Cronin is. I got no problem with it. And you're like, yes, of course. Let's totally just, be, apologetic and I guess apathetic towards, what the reality of that situation is, and just be like, yeah, what are you going to do? He's Mick Cronin. He's from Western Ohio. It's how we are. And
everybody knows that.
It's like, no, it's not, actually. He's a dick.
He
is, dude. He's unlikable.
In that same vein, Damon, you'll love this. I saw one of those Twitter accounts. It's winners only, and it's all they post is motivational quotes and stuff, and you need to level up your life, and da 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 da. Hard is the only way through this. That kind of red pill stuff, dude. They had that Mick Cronin quote up there, from where he throws his team under the bus, and it's the truth hurts, but only those that seek out real criticism will succeed, and Mick Cronin's players know that. And I'm like, dude. That does not. It misses the whole point. But yeah, in that same vein of just misappropriating praise from Mick Cronin as like, he's just a tough love genius, dude. He gets the most out of his guys by breaking them all the way down to the studs and then building them right back up.
This is what these guys signed up for. If they don't want to be coached hard, they shouldn't have committed to UCLA. Okay, man. If that's your style, but that's not my style, and yeah.
What's your style of shots fired, Damon?
My style of shots fired is directed at one Kirk Kriisa, who made me watch this horrific basketball player just chuck shots and talk more mess than any player on the court for 2 straight years, and now he's on his 17th basketball program in his 14th year of collegiate, experience and eligibility. I'm done, man. It's enough. You're gonna stink it up tonight. We already know the moment's gonna be too big. The lights are gonna be too bright. The brights are gonna be too light, and you're gonna go out there and shoot 1 of 8 from 3. And we all expect it. We all see it coming. And so that's, I have to send some shots fired at a former player. Not that, we just hate on every former player on this show, because I don't think that's the case. We like Henry Vasar, we like KJ Lewis, but I don't like guys who absolutely stink it up on the basketball court and then leave and then just play college basketball year on top of year on top of year and talk more crap than anybody in the process. Kirk Kriisa, you stink, brother, and we're going to watch that unfold on the court tonight.
Salud. Cheers.
And let me add, Kevin.
Oh, go ahead. Oh, and another thing.
Cincinnati Athletics. Screw you guys, right? Because Kevin and I get up here. We got to do a show every day. We got to takes fly. We do a quarterback preseason ranking, right? I look at stats. I say, this Brendan Sorsby guy kind of stinks. I'm looking at what he did last year. I'm looking at what he did at Indiana. I'm not a fan. Mm-hmm. Put him at the 13th best quarterback in the Big 12. He gets second team all Big 12 when it's all said and done at the end of the year.
Yeah, it's an oof.
Cincinnati basketball. We put them as low can go on our tier ranking list from last week. Go check it out on our YouTube channel. And then all of a sudden, they pull off just a massive upset win of Iowa State, start looking like a real program again. Their defense is elite. I'm sitting here and I'm going, what the hell, man? You made me look like an idiot 2 times in the last 6 months here. So Cincinnati, I'll fire a second shot at you guys. I don't got anything in my cup, but screw you for making me look like an idiot on this show all the time. I feel like I like to think, Kevin, that we generally get stuff right, but not when it comes around Cincinnati athletics typically.
No, we get nothing right about Cincinnati athletics in terms of what they will do over the course of the season. But I will say, we have to be right about Arizona beating Cincinnati today. That is something we need to be right about. And thank you to our friends over at Three Amigos for helping us fire some shots at our opponent. Make sure to go check out Three Amigos Tequila. You can get their Blanco in Circle K. That is how easy it is to access. So go over to Circle K, get yourself some Three Amigos Tequila.
Another one bites the dust, Kevin. We just finished this bottle, poured out the last drop on here. You can see that. We'll add it to our 4-bottle graveyard of tequila that Kevin and I have created here since we started doing this podcast. Shout out Three Amigos Tequila.
Shout out Three Amigos Tequila. And Damon, as we get even closer to game time, we still have our score predictions yet to go. But before we get to that, the keys to the game, as I see it in this one, stay out of foul issues. We've had Jaden Bradley now. We've had Koa Peat now struggle with fouls at times early in some of these games, preventing them from really impacting the first half at all in a couple of these games, right? You saw it last game with Koa Peat. You saw it the game before with Jaden Bradley. And that cannot happen tonight against a team as solid defensively as Cincinnati. Key number 2, need front court dominance, right? If Cincinnati is going to have a good night tonight, it looks like Baba Miller playing out of his mind.
Mo Krivas having another game like against ASU where it's one of his worst games of the season.
Yes, and you're not getting anything from Koa Peat, and that's what that would look like.
Koa Peat foul trouble, kind of coincides, right? I think for Arizona's front court to get, dominated or outplayed even, it's going to take a culmination of disaster from an Arizona standpoint of Koa Peat's in foul trouble. Mo Krivas looks like he's not up to snuff versus, some NBA, quality, and that's stretching it a little bit, but high level college quality bigs. And Tobe Awaka is probably still going out there and rebounding every basketball that exists, but maybe he's like shooting 50% from the free throw line and getting fouled a lot or something. You know what I mean? Like, it's not really going to be a situation where Arizona's front court is just all playing and they're all just getting dominated. I think it takes a lot more than that.
I agree with you, and that's why all three keys kind of coincide, because key number 3 is crash the defensive glass. Cincinnati, pardon me, I mentioned their proficiency for points off of turnovers, right? Mm-hmm. But Cincinnati also does quite well in terms of, or not quite well, but where they struggle in terms of second chance points per game. And if they're going to pull off an upset, a la the way they did against Iowa State, they're going to need to pick up some second chance points. They're going to have to steal some possessions. And if you're Arizona, you have to maintain control of this game. How do you do that? Make sure that every single Cincinnati miss ends up in the hands of either Krivas, Awaka, or Peat, right? I guess Burries. But you know what I'm saying. The good guys got to get that board. You cannot let them get an easy 2 points here, an easy 2 points there, cut a lead from 10 to 6 with a couple missed boards. You cannot let that happen. And then Michael in the chat throwing in passing lanes. Arizona cannot turn the ball over. Very well said. One thing we talked about at the top of this show is Cincinnati has length, and they use it on the defensive end. They get in the passing lanes. They like to play around in the passing lanes and cause turnovers. And Arizona's gotten a bit lackadaisical with the ball at times this year. I think part of it we talked about is just kind of a side effect of the way you play. It's so free. The ball moves so often. You're going to have some passes that are miscommunicated. You're going to have some things that don't go perfect every single time. But you do have to control the controllables, and turnovers is one of those today. Damon, do you have anything you want to add to that list?
Yeah, I mean their length, Kevin, as you mentioned, they're 25th in length in the country out of 364 teams. You mentioned that it's elite size, but it's some of the most comparable size that you can get to an Arizona standpoint when you're talking about height and just general size in a more general sense. But yeah, also they're just so good defensively. So Arizona obviously struggles with turning the ball over a little bit. I do think that the turnovers are going to come. I don't think that you're going to be able to completely just snuff out the turnovers against an elite defensive team like Cincinnati, who forces so many, and an Arizona team that kind of likes to run and gun a little bit and push the pace and be a little bit riskier with the basketball. I think turnovers are bound to happen, but you got to keep it under like a certain amount, right? Like you can't have like 13 plus turnovers. Like keep it in the low double digits, and I think you'll be fine. But if Cincinnati's going to win this one, I think they're going to need like 15 turnovers tonight. And so I'd like to see Arizona kind of just maybe not necessarily just snuff out all the turnovers, because that's so unrealistic, but really, really suppress them more so.
Before we get into our score predictions and then into Arizona versus Cincinnati as a viewer with all of you, Damon, I wanted to ask you one question. Last game, we singled out Brayden Burries, I believe. Will he have over X amount of points in this game for bouncing back offensively? A guy who I really want to try to put the good juju on tonight is one Anthony Dell'Orso, who I think has been playing pretty well outside of his shooting slump. He's had a pretty nasty shooting slump outside of that TCU game recently, but I think his overall level of play has been pretty decent, right, when he is out there, minus the fact that he's not hitting threes for you, which is the main reason you do have him in the game. Do you think that tonight he gets back on track a little bit, hits a couple threes? Is tonight the night?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think, when you look at role players, shooters especially, home games are very important. This is in McKale Center. I like Anthony Dell'Orso to bounce back tonight. I don't think that this trend of him playing this poorly and shooting this poorly will continue for too long, Kevin, because he's just too good of a shooter for that to happen. And things are open for him. Like it's not as if he's missing shots that are like horrible, egregious shots. He's taking the right shots. He's playing within the system. They're just not necessarily going in. I do like a little Delly bounce back tonight in Tucson in a game that hopefully isn't a super close game, but we'll see here.
I like it as well. I also think I don't know the way I'm not in Delly's brain. I don't know the way that his inner mechanisms turn, but the way my inner mechanisms turn is that if I see Kirk Risa enter the building and I'm Anthony Dell'Orso, I want to shoot it like the ball is literally on fire. You know what I mean?
Just staring at him while you shoot.
You know what I mean? This team let you go because you can't do what I can do. You know what I mean? This team lets you go because you make poor decisions where I make good ones.
He's just shooting threes, just staring at Kerr across the court the entire time. That's what I want the pregame to warm-ups to look like. Hopefully that's what it looks like right now.
Yes. So that's why I think he's going to have a really good night tonight. You know, you got your girl's ex is in the building. You want to ball out. Let them know who the new guy in town is. You know what I mean? So that is my ADO prediction for it all. Now let's get to our score predictions tonight, Damon. We both got a dub. I have 88-65. You got 83-68. As we already mentioned, right, Cincinnati is a very good defensive team. Not very good. In fact, they're elite. They're top 10 in the country on the defensive efficiency side of things. I think this is the recipe for Sean says the inner machinations of Kevin's mind are an enigma, which I guess is not for me to say. But I will say Cincinnati, really good defensive team. I don't think Arizona encroaches upon 100 in this game like they have against some other opponents. I don't think that they even surpass 90 as per my score prediction. But I do think that Cincinnati's lack of offense will be very prevalent at times in this game. There might be a couple times where they don't go without a field goal made for a couple minutes because Arizona's defense is so good. So I place them in that mid to high 60s range with a potential to get into that 70s. Kind of like a meteorologist the way I said that. But yeah, that's my score prediction. Damon, why don't you go ahead and break yours down?
Yeah, I had a slight chance of precipitation in mine. No, I got 83-68. But yeah, the spread's at 13.5. I think that's a pretty fair spread. I just don't think that Cincinnati can really hang offensively, I guess, is kind of where I'm at. Like, I do think that their defense will keep things close in the first half. I think Arizona might go on like, very, vintage Arizona kill shot 10-0 run type of thing where it just somewhat puts it out of play for Cincinnati, where you can't expect them to match the offensive firepower that this Arizona team has. I don't think Arizona's going to score, maybe what they've become accustomed to scoring for pace reasons, for, style of play reasons. Like, I just think Cincinnati's going to slow it down enough, to keep the points somewhat low, but I don't think that they have the offense to keep up with Arizona. I think Arizona wins this one fairly easily.
Do we have anything else in the way of discuss? Oh, Carl had a question in the chat during our Shots Fired segment presented by Three Amigos. They wanted to know, are Peat, Krivas, and Awaka our Three Amigos?
I think it either has to be.
I think not Brayden. I think Bradley has to be in that mix.
I was gonna say it either. I think it's either got to be like the seniors or like the freshmen. You know what I mean? We got Tobe, Jaden, and Deli as our seniors, and we got. I'll sorry, Dwayne, but the starting freshmen of Koa, Brayden, and Ivan Karchenkov.
I kind of like that.
I think it's got to be one of those. Personally.
I think I'll go with the freshman Three Amigos. I feel like that is more the vibe of this year's team in terms of those three just coming into the starting lineup, holding hands, power, friendship, getting it done. Thank you, Carl Schroeder, for all your creativity. As always, in the chat. Damon, game time is imminent. Creighton versus Xavier is wrapping up. That means Arizona versus Cincinnati is on the way. Let's get on out of here.
Let's do it. Of course, you can follow me at Damon Dog. That's DAWG. You can follow Kevin at Kevo Posts. You can follow us at PHNX_Wildcats on all social media, and you can follow our TikTok at AZ Wildcats Pod. Appreciate everybody for watching this one. Please drop a like on this video. Help us reach just a broader audience. Appreciate you guys so much for all your support, whether it's likes, super chats, just commenting here in the chat, watching the show. Means the world to me and Kevin. Allows us to get up here and do this thing every single day. So we appreciate you guys. Like I said, drop a like on this video, and we'll be back for post-game 10 minutes after that final buzzer sounds. Arizona versus Cincinnati. What's this game got in store for us? We'll find out here in a very, very short while. For Damon, for Kevin, this is the AZ Wildcats pregame show, and we'll catch you on the postgame show. Peace out, bear down.
And go Cats. Kirk Risa, you ain't got nothing tonight, my friend.
We all silly like the mayor.